on the floor, okay? And then hanımcık, we call in Turkish. That kind of thing. If you have a desk, that means you are safe because they don't know what you're doing. Under the table, you could go like shake like crazy, but that's normal, of course. Ama you can hide it easily. That was the case in Beykent University. There was a small desk. Your feet, you're safe in that respect, but you're too close with the person. Like it was a desk like this, and two people were sitting here, and I was here. So they watch everything that you do with your face, the mimics, the eye contact, blinking rates, whatever. They can see every single detail. In some other cases, what we do in our department, confidential information, not really, we have a panel and there is only a chair in the middle. So we can see your whole body and how you sit in your position, etc. I think that's more difficult. But crossing legs, it means you're too comfortable. Don't do it. 2 feet on the floor, okay? It shows that you're taking things seriously and you are respectful. Okay, it's a cultural thing also, right? Okay, what makes a good answer? Direct and straightforward. Whatever the question is asking for, you give that. Nothing extra. Don't keep talking forever. You have to know when to shut up. It's important. Short and crisp, like clear and direct. Okay, easy to understand and to the point. Examples and stories enhance the effectiveness of your answer. Like, for example, there is a question about classroom management, and you should be ready to provide the examples. I don't think I will have any problem managing a class of 25 kids because I experienced it in my practice teaching. At once, I experienced something like this, sort of. So you refer back to your experience and provide evidence of that. How you can apply your skills and evidence for that, that's quite important. You should be prepared and rehearsed because you don't have time to think at that moment. If you think in advance and prepare your answers, you can modify, add, or remove, updating or changing the answer at that moment is possible, but if you have thought about it, that will give you great advantage. The way you should answer your question is called the STAR approach. That's how you should think in your answers. So, situation or task, action you took and results you achieved. You should be talking about these in your answers. Situation or task means like describe in detail a specific event or situation. Like that instance during your practice teaching, for example. What happened, what caused it, and then what action you took. What did you do as a teacher to manage that problem, and what kind of results you achieved. So this is a short account of that experience. And you should be ready to talk about it, thinking about all these specific things. The task itself, what happened, what action you took, and the results. Negative or positive, whatever you learned, you could be highlighting that. It could be a negative experience, but you should finish it with a positive tone, like saying, all right, I couldn't manage that problem really effectively, but what I learned from this experience is this and that, and I'm planning to use that experience in similar situations, sort of. That means you're someone who can reflect on your experiences and you learn from your mistakes and you are ready to solve similar problems in different ways whenever you happen to face them again in the future. What to wear? Is it important what you wear?
Yes,
Okay, so no? Okay. People have some ideas about what color to pick, etc. I don't take such things seriously. Like brown means you're insecure or something. I don't just believe in that stuff. But the company culture and the dress code in that culture is quite important. If it's a university context, like modern language department, for example, we don't expect you to come to the interview with a suit or something, because that's not what we would wear every day. So, but if it's Milli Eğitim Bakanlığı, mesela atıyorum onlar, they don't give you interviews, değil mi? No. So if it's such an institution, you're expected to wear really smart clothes, then you should be mimicking that. There's a question? Somebody was raising a hand. No? Nothing too fancy, like in terms of colors and jewelry or makeup, nothing too casual, so something in between. Sweetening up is suggested in many sources on the internet. It doesn't mean a two-piece suit or something, but something really towards the conservative side. That's what's suggested. Conservative doesn't mean that you will be covering up altogether, but something really works in that environment, but maybe a little bit more conservative than what people wear normally, which shows respect for the institution and for that interview occasion itself. And well-groomed hair, tidy, okay, not too fancy, again, no perfume, we talked about it. Solid colors, not very bright or like flashy. No heavy makeup, again, and clean, unpressed. So in general, if you look clean, tidy, you really cared about how you look, and out of respect, you went there ready. So that's all we care about, really. After the interview, express your interest in the position before you leave. And it's at the end of the interview, for example, it's your final chance to indicate that you really want the job, you're motivated, etc. So that's your last move to convince them. Learn about the next steps. Is there a second interview? Because in some private schools in Ankara, they have a second interview, eliminating the candidates with the first interview, and then they ask for the candidates to come again, and they talk to them the second time with more specific questions this time. In some institutions, there is an interview stage on the same day or on another day. You're expected to give a demo lesson to the panel, the same panel. Sometimes it's a real classroom. In some private schools, again, they take you to a real classroom with real students, 30 second grade students, for example. They give you your task, whatever you are supposed to teach, and they watch you there teaching, actually teaching to real kids, and they evaluate your performance. There is a follow-up interview after the lesson. You talk about the weaknesses and the strengths, what went wrong, what you would do the next time, whether there's anything you want to improve or not, sort of an interview, okay, based on that specific lesson. So you should know what the next step is and get prepared accordingly. If you need to refresh your memory about teaching and methodologies or something, it's your time to shine and show them that you are the right candidate. Inquire about follow-up time and means. Follow-up means you are done with the interview, and then a day later, is it okay to send an email or something? Or ask for feedback, what they think about you or not? It might not be a good idea. It's not a very regular practice in Turkey, but it's suggested that you inquire about the follow-up time and means at the end of the interview. So what's the next step? What can we do next, etc.? When should I call you? So you might have a little question like that, which shows whether they are ready to answer that question or not, and what you should do next. Firm handshake at the end, and after the interview, you can send them a prompt thank you email. There is on the net, there are a lot of alternatives for this thank you email. The format, there's a specific format, so look for samples, you will understand what I mean. It simply says, thank you for taking the time for interviewing me. It was a great opportunity to know you in person and talk to you about my career goals and everything. And you indicate your interest and motivation once again. And then you say, I'm looking forward to hearing from you or something. Very formal, neat, and organized, short form of email. You can try that. It might work. It might lead to, they remember you once again. Even if they have suspicions, it kind of enforces something nice. Say relevant phone numbers to be ready. They will call you back, so be ready. They can call you anytime, so don't get caught off guard. In some different settings, you might receive the phone call, so if you know who is calling, then you answer accordingly. Are academic interviews any different? So far we've talked about job interviews for teaching positions. Some of you might be interested in academic career or doing a master's degree. Are they any different? There could be some differences, but usually the purpose is the same, eliminating candidates and choosing the right candidate. So they are similar in terms of the type of interviews, so you will find it's pretty much the same thing. Nature of the interview, personality questions. Every interview starts with easygoing questions. Tell me about yourself. Why should we hire you? Why did you pick us? Sort of easy to answer type of questions. And then they go on with more specific questions related to the position. The way you should answer questions is the same. Remember the STAR technique, providing details. So you should be adopting the same approach for academic interviews. Body language, manners, the way you dress, even if you know the people, they might be your own instructors, you were together for 4 years here, but still you should show them that you care about this and it's a serious business. The differences are in terms of the type of questions you're asked, there might be some differences. For teaching positions, they concentrate on teaching skills, classroom management, materials development, that kind of thing, basically. But here, there could be questions related to research skills, your career goals, why you want a master's degree, what you're going to do with your master's degree, etc. So you should be ready to answer that kind of questions for the academic interviews. Skills and qualifications you highlight will be different. Teaching is something else, being a research assistant is something different. And what they look for is, in academic interviews, academic preparation. Does this person have the necessary background and knowledge and skills to be able to pursue this career? Related experience, personal qualities, professionalism, analytical thinking, knowledge of the current trends in the field. Those are the issues they will be raising during the interview, and you should be ready to answer such questions. They might even ask you some questions about theories, for example, whether you know enough or not. They might be testing you. So these type of interviews require a different kind of preparation. So you should know what to expect and get ready accordingly. So what are common interview mistakes? Lack of preparation. It shows it's easy to understand who is prepared and who is not. So make sure you go there prepared. Inappropriate appearance is something really off-putting. Failure to ask questions. They say at the end, do you have any questions for us? And if you say, no, I'm good, or something like that, it's not a good idea. So make sure you ask something. What kind of questions you could ask?
The salary?
No. Never. The salary. Is it something that we could negotiate during the interview?
Yes, I think.
Yeah?
It must be the first
Must be.
Because we look at what we paid for, so we have to do something about it.
So ask me that question.
Okay.
I am the interviewer.
I can't. I don't know how to ask this, but how much
Just
are you going to pay me?
How much is okay for you?
So that's the answer then.
So that's how I would answer. So that's something, that's the kind of answer you will hear.
But like, you can learn about the salary.
So that's what I'm getting at. You should know zaten how much they usually pay. Talk to people, find out. There's a range. You don't know the specific amount of money you will earn doing that job, but there's a range. It could be something around like 2,050 or something, Turkish liras, for instance. That's enough. Okay? That time you don't expect them to pay more. You're not in the position to negotiate salary, not yet. But after like 10 years or something, you've proven yourself in your field, and you know that you are the perfect candidate, this might give you that chance, okay? But not right after graduation. Zaten it's not hard to predict how much we earn teaching, değil mi? So you should have an idea. I don't think that's something you should bring up. Instead, rather than focusing on salary, you should be focusing on growth opportunities. So you could say, I'm a novice teacher, I had some school experience, some practice in teaching, but I think I need to learn more and improve myself as a teacher. What kind of opportunities do you provide in your institution once I'm hired? Sort of, okay? So this will give them the chance to explain what they expect from you and whether they have such opportunities. Because in every institution, in universities especially, they have their own training programs, and you are required to be a part of that program. Zaten. You don't have a choice, but it shows that you're interested and you are looking forward to such chances. Okay? So instead, focus on that issue. Money zaten comes later. Okay?
Could you please talk about a little bit the difference between state universities and
Private universities. I started working for the modern language department right after graduation, so I don't have any experience in private universities. I'm not in a place to compare both. But as I hear from my friends, private institutions, they have their own training programs. So once you start working there, the first year, you should be a part of that training program, and you are like on probation. They're watching you. These training programs usually have requirements like, it's the same here in state universities. We observe your class 6 times a year, 3 times one semester, 3 times the second semester, and teacher trainers and administrators sometimes go into the classroom and see this person perform and teach in a regular class, and you should pass these observations. Also, there are some tasks you should fulfill, like demo lessons or practice workshops, something like that. So the whole year is like your probation period. At the end of that 1 year, whether you are qualified or not, the administration decides. So they should keep you or not, they make a decision. Okay? So that means you start working. But for some institutions, private universities, there is something else after that. So the first year could be their own teaching training program. You should continue with a Delta or CELTA program, for example. They require their employees to do that. In state institutions, after 1 year, you become a regular teacher like everybody else, and you go into the classroom. In private universities, if it's a prep department, you teach like 20 hours, 25 hours approximately. And after the work hours, teaching hours, you should be in school, doing office hours, doing some extra work or something. But in state universities, it's not the case. You go into your classroom, you do your office hours, and then you're free to go wherever you like. In prep school, it's like 4 hours of teaching in the morning or in the afternoon. I'm talking about METÜ prep school. 4 hours of teaching. With the beginner levels, it's 5 hours in the morning. And then you are free in the afternoon after you do your office hours. In modern language department, the regular workload is 12 hours a week, and you're expected to do like 6 hours, 6 office hours in total, and then you're free. But we don't have a really organized program. Your sessions might be scattered, like 8:40 in the morning and 3:30 in the afternoon, and in between you do your office hours. But you might have a 1 day off or half day off, okay, after the training program. So in terms of work hours, salaries are pretty much the same, I think. Am I right? Yeah, there isn't a big difference between state universities and private universities. The profile, student profile is very different, of course. I think that's the biggest difference. But you learn. You develop different skills working in a private institution. It's always more fun and rewarding to work in an institution like Metro, for example, working with students like you is a great advantage. So it's something that you should consider before you make your application. Yeah.
As far as I know, it is required to have 3 years of experience in an institution before applying to Metro. I know it is for the preparatory courses. Is it the same for the modern languages?
2 years, yeah, we require some amount of experience, that's right, but it depends on how many people we hire and for what specific reason we are hiring that people. For example, last year we hired 4 people, and one of them had 10 years of experience. And that was a really young instructor. She had 2 years of experience. We want some sort of experience yet. It's easier because we are teaching departmental English courses, and you have to teach 4th year, 2nd year, 3rd year students. So some level of experience is good. So what you could do is, if it's something that prevents you from applying for modern languages department, and go and work for some other place in some private university. For example, in Ankara we have a lot of them here nowadays. So you work for them, and after 2 or 3 years, you apply for the modern languages department. It's not a long time. It's the time for you to develop yourself as a teacher, to see your potentials, weaknesses or strengths in the classroom, and you develop yourself, and then you learn something, and if you're interested in doing a master's degree, you could do it and finish it in the meantime, and you apply for the state universities. I think that's a great move. In my time, they didn't ask for any experience, so I was able to start working there for the department, so that was a great advantage. But nowadays, it's the case. Okay, shall I continue? Poor attitude, exaggerating or being deceitful, poor nonverbal communication, over or under answering questions. Over answering questions is really boring and tiring, and you get bored listening to that person, believe me. So make sure that you stick to the question, make it to the point and clear and direct. Under answering questions, short answers, that's not a good thing. Be prepared to give details. And focusing on the negatives should be avoided. They can ask you negative questions like, what is your weakness? And you should answer that question. What did you say?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing
You just...
pops up in my mind, but
Mm.
I was a little stressed and nothing.
You know what people say in general? I am a perfectionist. That's my greatest weakness. That's cliche, and never say that. Okay? Being a perfectionist might be a negative thing sometimes, but usually it's a positive thing. Is it a negative thing? I don't think so. So what they are trying to do is, they pretend like it's a weakness, but actually they are stating something strong about themselves. So just like the reverse, is it called reverse psychology? I don't know. So instead, make it real. Everybody has a weakness, and accepting your weakness is a good thing. That means you know what your the areas you should improve about yourself. You know that. And just admit it and be honest about it. The thing they need to see, what they want to hear is that you know what your weakness is and you're doing something about it. That's the critical bit. So you say, for example, what could be a weakness? Give me an idea.
Being sensitive.
Being too sensitive, for example. So you say, I'm too sensitive sometimes. If it's a question about human relations, so that could be a nice response. So you should say, I'm a sensitive person. Sometimes it puts me in difficult situations, but I try to do this and that to overcome it. And I've tried it and it works for me. So that's the way I deal with problems with people, sort of. Okay? So it means that you're doing something about it. It's not influencing you in a terrible, terrible, negative way. And you're working on it. I think that's enough. So that's what you should do if you're asked that
Next
question.
time I know
Okay. So what I'm going to give you now is it okay if I just okay. I've prepared. I have 30 copies, so we have more than 30 people here. On this sheet, you will find common interview questions for teachers. Okay? This is not some general stuff. I just put these together for you guys, for you to think about yourself as a teacher and how you would answer that question during an interview. For example, here you can see some general questions, personal questions about yourself, about teaching, what kind of questions you might get, classroom management, assessment, and parent involvement. If you will work in a private college and you have to work with little kids, parents will be involved. So I think this will give you an idea. You can find some behavior questions or case questions. We talked about type of questions earlier, but usually what you will get is a combination of different types. So there might be behavior questions, case, personal questions, situations and tasks, etc. So I think this will help you. I will leave one copy with Yasemin Hoca. So if there are not enough copies, maybe you can just contact her, or you could contact me. Here is my email address, and I can email you these. Okay, so before you leave, you can take one copy over here. And these are for academic interviews. So it's more about teaching, for job interviews, and this is for academic interviews, the list of questions you might get. You might work on these and try to find answers. So I think that's it. I hope you benefited. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them now.
We should ask questions. We should ask questions now.
Yes.
Hocam,
Yeah.
what if I through the 4 years just 10 lessons and assignments, no work experience, a club membership? Is possible.
I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I was just like you. Yani I had memberships, etc. They were not the thing that we talked about during the interview. The interview I had for the prep school and for the model language department, it was really tough. They could be really tough on you because you are novice teachers and you don't have any experience. They were really harsh on me during the interview. There were a lot of behavioral type questions in Beykent University. And here they asked me a lot of questions about the reading texts itself. They even asked me to name the grammatical structures, adverb clause, adjective clause, adverb clause of time, whatever. Okay, you see what I mean? So it was kind of a test of my grammar knowledge. And then they asked me questions about the vocabulary items in that test. Because they were thinking like, all right, this is the text you're supposed to teach, first year at METÜ, and how would you handle it in the classroom? So what if students found the sentence difficult? How would you explain it grammatically? So I had to answer such questions because I was novice. If you have any kind of other memberships, extracurricular activities, it doesn't mean that you are necessarily a good teacher. So they are actually trying to understand whether you can really do this, whether you have the presence to manage a classroom this size, this level, for example. Okay? So the context will determine what kind of answers you will provide. They might be interested in such stuff, but it's not something that will stop them from hiring you as a teacher. So don't get demotivated because you don't have anything extra. Try to, maybe you could do something starting today and write it on your CV. If it's something that made you realize the importance of such activities, start today and add something to your CV. Okay? Join Master. Evet. You have a lot of activities, değil mi? It wasn't the case in my time, so I think you are really lucky.
Could I ask some personal questions?
Yes.
For
Buradan
example,
seçeyim mi? Describe yourself using 5 adjectives. That's a personal question. Personal question, does that mean, are you married? Are you planning to get married very soon?
or smoke, for example.
I don't think that's relevant And about your marital status, I don't think that it's legal to ask such questions. It's illegal in the United States, as far as I know. But in Turkey, I'm not sure whether
I was asked such a
you
question.
were asked. Yeah. So off the record, they may ask you, for example, if you're recently married and there is this training program you have to finish to become a real member of that department, they don't want you to like have babies very soon in your first year, because that will stop you from participating effectively or fulfilling the requirements of the department. So you should know such stuff. They might ask you such stuff, and you have to answer if they ask you. You don't say, it's illegal, you cannot ask me that.